On the night U-559 came up, nobody on HMS Petard was hunting for a book. They were hunting a submarine. The U-boat surfaced 70 miles north of the Nile Delta, broken open by hours of depth charges. Her pressure hull cracked, her crew scrambling into the dark water. Searchlights hit the conning tower. The guns were still warm. And on the British destroyer, someone gave the order that almost every sailor understood. Finish her. But Lieutenant Anthony Fasson saw something else. The U-boat was dying. Not dead. And if she was still floating, then whatever the Germans had failed to burn was still inside her. Fasson stripped down, went over the side, and crossed the black water toward a steel tube that was already flooding. Able seaman Colin Grazier followed him. Then a 16-year-old canteen assistant named Tommy Brown climbed across too, a boy who had no business being in that war, and even less business stepping onto a sinking German submarine. They were told to look for codebooks, cipher sheets, anything with German naval markings. But what came out of that submarine was not valuable, because it was dramatic. It was valuable because it was boring. A small weather cipher book, a little naval shortcut for turning weather reports into brief radio messages, the kind of document a commander might treat like routine paperwork, the kind of thing a movie would ignore. And that was exactly why it mattered. Because Bletchley Park did not need a miracle. It needed a predictable sentence. By October 1942, the Atlantic War had entered its cruelest silence. For most of that year, German U-boats had been using the four-rotor naval Enigma, the M4, known to Bletchley by the name Shark. The old methods were failing. Messages that once could be attacked in hours were now sitting unread for days, then weeks, then not at all. Convoys were sailing into empty-looking ocean that was not empty. U-boats were being moved by orders the British could intercept but could not understand. And every unread signal had weight. Fuel, wheat, ammunition, men. Ships vanishing into the gray without Bletchley knowing which line of German text had sent them there. That is what made U-559 different. Not because she was the biggest prize. Not because she carried some golden master key. Because for a few minutes, before the sea swallowed her, she became a room the British were not supposed to enter. The boarding party found the inside of the submarine in darkness. Water was already climbing through the lower compartments. The air stank of diesel, battery fumes, sweat, and seawater. Fasson and Grazier went below. Brown stayed higher, near the conning tower, close enough to take anything they passed up. They had no time to understand what they were holding. That was not their job. Their job was simpler and more terrible. Find paper. Get it out. Keep going until the boat goes down. They moved through a machine built to drown them. Drawers stuck. Lockers jammed. The floor tilted under their feet. Every minute made the submarine heavier. At the surface, Petard's men were waiting with a whaler, shouting through the dark, watching the deck settle lower. And then the first packet came up. Wet hands pushed documents into Tommy Brown's arms. Brown passed them to the whaler. Then another packet. Then another. No one on that deck could see the future inside those papers. They could not see Hut 8 at Bletchley Park. They could not see the bomb machines being rewired. They could not see a convoy turning away from a U-boat patrol line because one German weather report had finally become readable. They only saw paper and water and two men who had not come back up. Then U-559 moved. The submarine dropped under them so fast the men on Petard would later remember it as less like a ship sinking and more like a trapdoor opening. Fasson and Grazier were still inside. Tommy Brown survived. The books survived. The two men who found them did not. When the packets reached British intelligence, the first reaction was not triumph. It was caution. Captured material could be outdated. It could be incomplete. It could be a procedural manual with no operational value. It could help for 1 week and then vanish when the Germans changed the system. But inside the pile was a document Bletchley had been desperate for. The Wetterkirchschlüssel, the short weather cipher. A weather book. That sounds small only if you do not understand how Enigma was being broken. The machine itself was not usually beaten by reading German minds. It was beaten by finding pressure points in German procedure, repeats, habits, predictable formats, words that had to appear because the Navy ran on schedules, coordinates, reports, sightings, and weather. A U-boat at sea sent weather because command needed weather. The message was short, compressed, regular, and because it was regular, it could become a crib, a known shape, a handle, something the mathematicians could grip. The book did not reveal every key. It revealed where the keys could be attacked. That difference is the whole story. Before U-559, Shark was not invisible, but it was close enough to invisible to kill. The fourth rotor had changed the labor. The traffic was there, pouring through intercept stations in clean streams of dots and dashes, but the meaning stayed locked behind combinations too vast to test blindly. Bletchley did not lack intelligence. It lacked entry points. The weather cipher book gave them one. It showed how the Germans compressed weather observations into short signal groups. That meant analysts could predict what certain encrypted messages were likely to contain, not perfectly, but enough to set the bomb machines hunting in the right forest instead of searching the whole planet. At Bletchley, the book was not treated like a relic. It was treated like a tool. Cryptanalysts compared captured formats against intercepted traffic. They looked for message lengths, timing, call signs, transmission habits, weather routes. They asked one brutal question again and again. Where does routine become weakness? A commander might think routine is safety. A navy depends on routine. A code system survives only as long as routine does not betray it. And the weather book proved that the German Navy had a leak built into its discipline. Not carelessness, discipline. Because the same system that made U-boats efficient also made them legible once the right page was in British hands. That is why this was not simply a bravery story. Bravery got the papers out, but procedure made the papers powerful. The Germans did not have to be stupid. They only had to be consistent, and naval war is consistency written in blood. Ships leave at scheduled times. Convoys follow lanes. U-boats report positions. Weather reports go out because weather changes everything. Fuel use, aircraft range, periscope visibility, convoy speed, whether an escort can even hear a submarine beneath the surface chop. Every small report belonged to a larger machine. The short weather cipher was one tiny gear inside that machine. Fasson and Grazier carried out the gear. Then Bletchley used the missing tooth to hear the machine turning. The results did not arrive like a trumpet blast. There was no single morning when every Atlantic signal suddenly opened. That is not how cryptanalysis works. It came in pieces. A message read sooner than before. A pattern confirmed. A bomb run made less blind. A convoy route adjusted with more confidence. A patrol line inferred before the ships reached it. The map did not become safe. It became less silent. And in the Battle of the Atlantic, less silent could mean the difference between 30 ships reaching port and 30 columns of smoke spread across a winter sea. There is an ugly moral hidden in this kind of intelligence work. The men who die for the secret often never get to know what the secret did. Fasson and Grazier did not live to hear the explanations. Tommy Brown was awarded for courage, then sent home when the truth of his age could no longer be ignored. He was 16 years old. Old enough, apparently, to carry German code material out of a sinking submarine. Too young, afterward, to remain in uniform. The war had used him for the one night when his hands mattered most. Then it returned him to civilian life, as if the ocean had been a mistake. The mission itself stayed buried for decades. The awards were public. The reason behind them was not. You could say 2 sailors had been brave. You could not say what their bravery had opened. Because if Berlin learned exactly what had been captured, the advantage could die overnight. New books, new procedures, new formats, new weather systems. A small change on the German side could close the door that 2 men had drowned to open. So the story was sealed inside the larger silence of Ultra. Families received medals without receiving the whole truth. Names went into records. The mechanism stayed hidden. And that is why the weather book is so easy to underestimate. An Enigma machine looks important. Rotors, lamps, keyboard, wires, the whole visible grammar of secrecy. A weather cipher book looks like administration. Paper, tables, abbreviations, little boxes for routine naval language. But code breaking is often not the defeat of mystery by genius. It is the defeat of mystery by paperwork. The terrifying fact is that empires are run through forms. Armies move through forms. Submarines kill through forms. And when the right form falls into the wrong hands, the system starts explaining itself. Think of the Atlantic as Bletchley heard it, not as waves, as fragments, call signs, weather groups, contact reports, position signals, encrypted scraps arriving faster than people could understand them. Somewhere in those scraps were wolf packs forming, convoys being hunted, tankers marked for death. But without a crib, the signal was only locked noise. The weather book gave that noise a habit, a repeated posture, a phrase the enemy had to say because the ocean forced him to say it. And once Bletchley could predict even part of the sentence, the whole machine became more vulnerable. Not broken forever, never that simple, but vulnerable enough. Enough to shorten a search, enough to test a key, enough to turn a wall of possibilities into a corridor. Enough, on some days, to move a convoy before the U-boats arrived. That is the part museums struggle to show. They can display the machine. They can show the rotors. They can put a photograph of HMS Petard under glass. They can write the names Fasson, Grazier, and Brown on a panel. But the real action is almost invisible. A man compares a short weather group with an intercepted signal. A woman marks a probable pattern. A bomb run is set with slightly less guesswork. A convoy order changes by a few degrees. A ship that would have met a submarine never meets it. No explosion, no speech, no clean scene for history to frame. Just a route on a map bending away from death. That was the value of the book. Not that it solved the war. Not that it made the Atlantic safe. It did something smaller, colder, and more useful. It gave the codebreakers a way to begin again. By late 1942, beginning again was not a poetic idea. It was a survival requirement. The U-boat war had reached into every British cupboard, every factory, every airfield, every planned invasion that still existed only on paper. Britain did not just need courage. It needed tonnage. It needed fuel crossing the ocean. It needed food. It needed steel. It needed escorts arriving with enough oil to keep escorting. A broken cipher was not an academic victory. It was bread. It was petrol. It was ammunition stacked on a dock instead of settling under salt water. And behind part of that recovery sits the image that should be remembered with the machine. Not a polished Enigma under museum lights, a flooded radio room, a dying submarine rolling beneath the Mediterranean night, 2 men passing documents upward because they still had a few seconds left, a boy taking the papers in both hands, the sea rising, the hatch darkening, The book leaving the boat, the men staying behind. History likes the object that survives. The machine, the metal, the glass case. But sometimes the object that changes the war is the one that looks least important. A damp little weather book. A routine manual for routine messages. A piece of paperwork the ocean almost kept. The Germans thought the sea would destroy it. Bletchley proved that paper, once saved, could make the sea speak. And somewhere behind the convoys that reached port, behind the fuel that reached Britain, behind the ships that missed the patrol lines they were never supposed to see, there is one night off Egypt when 3 men climbed onto a sinking submarine. 2 went below. 1 came back. The book came back with him.